5 disturbing true crime stories unfolded in the depths of caves. In today's episode, we're plunging into the eerie darkness of these underground labyrinths as we unravel some gripping true crime stories that unravel deep within their echoey chambers. From the claustrophobic crawlways of Sand Cave to the chilling woods of the Ardennes, we're journeying into the depths to uncover tales of intrigue, survival, and unfortunately, tragedy. Let's uncover these 5 true crime stories that happened in the cave. The first case is the death of Floyd Collins. The year is 1925 and we're in the state of Kentucky, USA. Floyd Collins, a brave cave explorer, is trying to find a new entrance to the Mammoth Cave system. Floyd was pretty well known in the area for his cave explorations and he'd made a business out of it, so this was just another day at work for him. He sets his sights on this place called Sand Cave. Now, Sand Cave isn't like your spacious walk-in type of cave. It's tight, it's claustrophobic, and it's got narrow passages that you have to crawl through. So Floyd's in there, about 55 feet underground, crawling through a particularly small passage when a rock falls and traps him. Floyd's stuck there, pinned by this rock in a space that's too narrow for him to turn around. Just think about that for a second. Trapped underground all alone. It's the stuff of nightmares, right? News of Floyd's predicament quickly spread and people from all over came to try and rescue him. It turned into a media frenzy, one of the first of its kind. For more than 2 weeks, efforts to rescue Floyd were in full swing. Despite the tireless work of the rescuers, the conditions were challenging and time was not on their side. Tragically, after being trapped for more than 2 weeks, Floyd died of exposure and starvation, still stuck in that cave. It was a heartbreaking ending to a very brave man's life. The whole event was surrounded by controversy about how the rescue was handled. It raised a lot of questions about the safety and ethics of cave exploration. Floyd's story is a stark reminder of the dangers associated with cave exploring and how a passion for adventure can sometimes lead to unforeseen and tragic consequences. The Beast of the Ardennes. Between 1987 and 2001, there was a guy named Michael Fourniret who caused absolute terror in France and Belgium. The media gave him the nickname the Beast of the Ardennes and, well, he earned it through his horrifying act. Michael, along with his wife, Monique Olivier, had this sickening habit of luring young girls and women. They'd use all sorts of tricks to get their victims to trust them. Then they'd kidnap them, assault them, and ultimately murder them. It's the stuff of nightmares, right? Now, not all of these horrendous crimes took place in caves, but what ties Michael to our cave theme is where he chose to dispose of his victims' bodies. Several of the poor girls and young women were found buried in or near caves in the Ardennes region. That's a forested area that stretches between France and Belgium. Finally, in 2003, Michael was captured. When faced with the weight of the evidence against him, he confessed to murdering 9 girls and women, but many believe he's responsible for even more. His wife, Monique, was also convicted for her part in the crimes. Next, the Alcàsser Girls case. In November 1992, 3 teenage girls, Miriam Garcia Iborra, Antonia Gomez Rodriguez, and Desiree Hernandez Foch, disappeared in Alcàsser, which is a small town in Valencia, Spain. They were simply heading to a party, but they never made it, and that's where this awful story begins. The whole country was searching for these girls. It was all over the news and everybody was on the lookout for them. But tragically, the girls were found dead about 2 months later, in January 1993. Their bodies were discovered in a ditch near a place called La Romana, not too far from a cave. The scene was absolutely gruesome. 2 men, named Antonio Angles and Miguel Ricart, were quickly linked to the crime. The evidence led the police right to them. Angles, however, managed to escape and has never been captured. Some people think he died, others think he's still out there somewhere. Miguel Ricart, on the other hand, was arrested, tried, and convicted for the crime. He was sentenced to 170 years in prison, but only served 21 years because of Spanish law at that time. He was released in 2013, which caused quite a bit of uproar in Spain. The case of the Alcàsser Girls is one of the most controversial and horrific in Spanish history. There are lots of theories, conspiracies and disagreements about what really happened. The way the media covered the case, showing very explicit content, sparked a lot of debates about ethics and the role of media in such tragic events. So yeah, this case isn't just about a terrible crime. It's also about how we as a society handle and respond to such incidents. It's a really tragic story that's had a lasting impact on Spain. The Nutty Putty Cave back in 2009. Nutty Putty Cave is in Utah, and it's a pretty popular spot for caving enthusiasts, but it's also a challenging and complex cave system with lots of tight spots and tricky passages. In November 2009, a guy named John Jones decided to explore Nutty Putty Cave. He was no stranger to adventure. He loved outdoor activities. He went with a group which included some of his family members. At one point during their exploration, John decided to try to squeeze through a really narrow passage, which the local cavers called Ed's Push. Here's where the tragedy strikes. John got stuck. The passage was just too narrow and he was lodged in there, upside down. Can you imagine that? It must have been absolutely terrifying. He was trapped about 150 feet below the surface, and despite his and his companions' efforts, they couldn't get him out. Rescue teams were called in, and they worked tirelessly for over 27 hours to try and free John. But the conditions were incredibly tough. The passage was extremely narrow, and his position made it very difficult to get him out. Sadly, John didn't make it. Despite all the efforts, he passed away inside the cave. It was a really tragic outcome, and it hit the community hard. The cave was eventually sealed off, with John's body still inside, as a mark of respect and to prevent any further accident. It's a heart-wrenching story that serves as a reminder of how quickly a fun adventure can turn into a serious situation. No matter how experienced you might be, nature can always throw unexpected challenges at you, and that's why safety precautions are so important. The last case of this episode is the incredible rescue of 13 lives from Tham Luang Cave. Let's dive into the incredible rescue story of the Wild Boars soccer team in Thailand back in 2018. It's an amazing tale of human endurance, bravery, and international cooperation. And, let me tell you, it's just as gripping and suspenseful as any blockbuster movie. So, the date's June 23, 2018. We've got a group of 12 boys, all aged between 11 and 16, and their 25-year-old assistant soccer coach. They're part of a local football team known as the Wild Boars. Now, after a practice session, they decide to explore the Tham Luang Nang Nong Cave complex in Chiang Rai, northern Thailand. But what was meant to be a fun adventure quickly turned into a real-life nightmare when heavy rains began to flood the cave, trapping the team deep inside. When the boys didn't return home, a massive search and rescue operation was launched. And when I say massive, I mean massive. We're talking about a rescue operation that involved not only local Thai Navy SEALs, but also international cave diving experts from around the world. Now here's where the glimmer of hope sparks. On July 2nd, after 9 tense days of searching, 2 British divers finally located the team. They were about 2.5 miles deep into the cave, malnourished, scared, but still alive. The boys and their coach had survived by drinking water dripping from the cave walls and had stayed on a ledge away from the floodwaters. The plan to get them out was nothing short of a heroic mission. The flooded and narrow cave passages presented a treacherous path out. Each boy, many of whom couldn't even swim, let alone dive, had to make the journey equipped with a diving mask while tethered to a professional diver. Can you even begin to imagine the level of fear and courage? But here's the tragic part. A retired Thai Navy SEAL, Salman Kunan, lost his life during the rescue operation when he ran out of oxygen. His sacrifice underlined the dangerous nature of the mission. Despite the odds, by July 10, all 12 boys and their coach were successfully rescued, making it out of the cave and into the relief of their families and the world who've been watching with bated breath. They were whisked away to a hospital to recover from their nearly 3-week-long ordeal. The Tham Luang Cave rescue truly was a testament to the human spirit and the power of global cooperation. Divers, doctors, military personnel, and volunteers from around the globe came together to save the lives of 13 people, proving that when we stand together, we can overcome the greatest challenges. So, to our heroes of the Tham Luang Cave rescue, we salute you. Wow, we've traversed some eerie paths today, unraveling chilling tales from the dark depths of caves. If you found these stories intriguing and you're ready for more, we've got plenty to share with you. So why not join our community? Just hit the subscribe button below and tap the bell icon so you'll never miss a beat. We'd love to have you as part of our true crime journey. Thank you for watching, and remember, there's always another story waiting in the shadows. Until next time, stay safe